My name is Maria Jones, and I stand before you, not as a representative of Lancashire County Council, but as a proud member of the Reform Party, a passionate champion for tackling sexual exploitation and violence against women and girls. This is not an easy subject to talk about. It's painful, it's disturbing, and for many, it's deeply personal. But let me be clear, silence is what allowed these criminals to operate. Silence is what allowed these crimes to flourish. Silence is what allowed these young girls to suffer unheard, unsupported, threatened, and in many tragic cases, even criminalized and vilified. Some have even taken their own lives. We are here today to break that silence. We are here to shine a light on a horrific reality of grooming gangs and the institutional failure that allowed them to get away and operate for far too long. I've been working closely with victims and their families. I've sat with them. I've heard their stories. I've witnessed their pain. Goodness, it's unimaginable. These are not isolated incidents. This is not a case of a few bad apples. This is a systemic, coordinated pattern of abuse where mainly Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Muslim men have targeted white, underage, vulnerable girls. Girls who should have been protected, but instead were left to be abused, burnt, beaten, drugged, and dehumanized. And the worst part, they were failed, not just by the perpetrators, but by the very institution that was supposed to protect them. The police, the justice system, social services, again and again, they chose to turn away. Why? You wonder why. For the sake of community cohesion, for fear of being labelled racist, to preserve a false sense of harmony at the expense of our most vulnerable. Let me be direct. Victims were ignored, dismissed, and even punished. They were seen not as children in need of protection, but as troublemakers, as if they were somehow responsible for their own abuse. Some were arrested, some were cautioned, and many were told explicitly that pursuing justice could cause division, that they risked being labelled as racist. Can you imagine that trauma of being helpless, being sexually abused, and then being blamed or silenced for seeking help? Let me be absolutely clear. That era is over. We should all be able to say what needs to be said. We cannot fix a problem if we are too afraid to name it or to state facts. And we cannot allow political correctness or fear of being labelled racist to become a shield for criminals and criminal activities and systemic neglect. The police have been in denial, I repeat. The police have been in denial. They've been at times unhelpful, unwilling, and obstructive. Some victims have said to me directly, the police simply didn't want to know. This is unacceptable. We must hold individuals and institutions accountable for their failures, not only to punish wrongdoing, but to make sure it will never happen again. As a reform-led council, and as someone who deeply cares about justice and truth, I am making a clear and public commitment today. We will act. We will explore and investigate more cases to uncover the full extent of what has happened and how it was allowed to happen here in Lancashire. We will collect and study data to understand where systems failed and why. We will hold those in positions of power accountable, no matter how uncomfortable that may be. We will demand urgent changes within police forces, within the justice system, and within the safeguarding services. And above all, we will support victims with real services, safe spaces, and respect. Today, I am proud to announce the launch of Safe from Grooming Lancashire. This will be a dedicated platform for victims of sexual exploitation and their families to come forward, share their stories, and receive support. This space will be safe, no fear of judgment, no fear of dismissal, confidential. Your voices will be heard with care and compassion. Action focused, not just talk, but meaningful, practical change. And let me make this promise: you will not be ignored again. You will be listened to, believed, and supported. This issue affects all of us. These girls could be our daughters, our sisters, our nieces, our cousins, our neighbours. And we must never forget that sexual exploitation knows no borders, especially in time where mass, undocumented migration of mainly young men has created serious safeguarding and community safety concerns that too many still refuse to acknowledge. We must not be afraid to speak the truth. Some cultural norms import through uncontrolled immigration. They are incompatible with our values of gender equality and respect. We must address this openly, honestly, and firmly to protect victims and uphold justice. To the victims, I am deeply sorry for everything you've had to endure. Not only were you abused by those who targeted you, but you have failed again and again by those who should have protected you. You were not believed, you were silenced. You were blamed for your own abuse. You were made feel like criminals instead of children and young women you were, in need of safety, care and justice. You were asked to stay quiet for the sake of community cohesion. You were threatened, dismissed, ignored, and in some cases, actively punished for speaking out. This should never have happened, and it must never happen again. But today, I want you to know we are here now, and we are on your side. We will listen to you. We will believe you. We will treat you with dignity and respect. We will do everything we can to support your healing and to ensure that justice is served. What happened to you was not your fault. The failures were not yours. And moving forward, we promise to be the opposite of what you've known. Not denial, but belief. Not silence, but the truth. Not abandonment, but real lasting care. To those in power who remained silent, your silence has caused unimaginable harm to many thousands. By choosing not to act, by turning away, you became complicit in the suffering of these young people. But that time is over. We are watching, we are listening, and we will act. This fight is no longer hidden behind closed doors. It is out in the open. It is urgent. And it is non-negotiable. The Council has empowered me to serve as the champion for combating sexual exploitation and safeguarding women and girls. In this role, and with the full support of the County Council, we have agreed to formally request that Lancashire County Council call for an immediate national inquiry to take place here in Lancashire. I am calling for an immediate and fully independent national inquiry into grooming gangs in Lancashire and the systemic failure that have enabled the sexual exploitation of children and vulnerable individuals. This is not about politics. It's about protecting children, supporting victims, delivering justice for survivors, and restoring public trust. We must ensure that such horrific abuse is never allowed to happen again anywhere in the UK. Lancashire communities, survivors, families deserve answers. And we, as the Reform Council in Lancashire, are fully committed to pursuing those answers with the utmost urgency and resolve. Thank you.